Hi there. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about how to choose a platform for your business. And I get this question a lot before people have started to build out their site, or even after they've built it out and they still have questions and they keep second guessing and wondering if they ever chose the right platform. So we're going to go over a couple that we work with at Robles Designs, and hopefully that makes your decision a little easier. A little bit about us before we get started. We are Robles Designs, where we create drill-worthy websites and brands for entrepreneurs hell-bent on taking over the world. And my name is Yasmin Robles. And you can catch us on Reels on Instagram at Robles Design Studio, where I try to educate and just make a fool of myself. So you can catch us there, as well as download the freebie at roblesdesigns.com/checklist. And you can get the links wherever you're watching this video. And let me know what you think. It's basically a checklist that you can use to either kind of sort of audit your site, but also so that you can build out your site and have a checklist that you can go through and understand what you need to have on there. But now let's jump into the content. Okay, so the very first thing that you want to do before choosing a platform for your website is to really understand the goals that you have for your business. You want to understand your users, and you want to understand what the goals are for everyone involved within when this website launches, as well as within about 3 years. What features do you want on your site? Is it a membership site? And how much of a minimum viable product do you want it to be when you launch it? And that's going to help decide a little bit about what platform will support each of these goals. Think about the features that you would like and whether or not they will need to be custom developed. So is somebody already doing what you want to do? So for example, membership sites. Lots of people have membership sites. That's already been done. But if you want something very specific to happen within the membership site, can that be done, or does that need some custom development time? And really, what is your MVP? So if you want it to be completely done when you launch, or do you want to have some kind of phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 within that platform? You're going to want to see if you have the team or the bandwidth yourself or the budget in order to get this built out. So for example, if you do already have a team, then is that team able to build this out for you, or will it need to be outsourced? Now, if your budget is smaller and you're trying to DIY it, then do you have the time to get it done? And do you have the time or the knowledge? And are you willing to go through that learning curve of learning the platform, whichever platform it may be? Are you willing to go through that learning curve and the time it takes to learn it? Not just the platform, but you're learning how to use the platform, you're learning how to build a website and build it in a great way, as well as trying to launch this business. So do you have the bandwidth for that, and how much time do you have per day, per week in order to devote to this build out? So let's dive into some of the platforms out there, and these are just some of the ones that I work with. The first one we're going to cover is Squarespace. So Squarespace is one of the main ones that we build on just because of the user friendliness when I hand over a website. It's admin area. When you log in as an administrator, you log in, it's very clean, it's clutter-free. You don't have to worry a lot about updates or keeping things like plugins, and we can get into what those mean, keeping everything updated and backed up. You don't necessarily have to worry about that, and it's just very easy to maneuver for the non-techie person. As if you are DIYing it, they do have some templates that you can get started with. They are included, so you can just choose one, or you can come in as a blank slate and start your site that way. Some of the cons are that, especially I feel like their member area can be improved a lot. So if you want a really robust membership site, it might not necessarily be the website for you or the platform for you. If you want to have your website on Squarespace and then have something else like Teachable, or there's tons of other ones out there for membership sites or for courses, then you can definitely do that and have a website and this third party, because usually those third parties are not great at websites, they're great at what they do. So you can definitely have it on Squarespace. I think their e-commerce is It's good. It's not as customizable in terms of a lot of time. The very certain features that Shopify might have or add-ons that they might provide is not really the case for Squarespace. So if you have a very basic service-based business or very easy e-commerce, an easy blog, things like that, and you don't want to worry about having to update things, Squarespace is a really good one for you. So we talked a little bit about WordPress, and I mentioned that WordPress is my first love. It's the first website I built was on WordPress, and WordPress is just a really great platform, I feel. It's very easy to customize, and it's easy to, so if somebody builds you a WordPress site, it's easier for someone else, a developer, to come in and fix things or to update them, because there's so many developers out there that are knowledgeable about WordPress. Squarespace, which we just touched upon, there's some developers that will not go in there. We go in there and really try to break the template on a Squarespace site. We try to make it look like it's not just a basic template. We put some thought process into the coding of it so that you don't ever have to necessarily look at the code, but a lot of developers will not be willing to do that. So WordPress is a good one if you worry about just being able to find a developer that will work on your WordPress site. Now, just keep in mind that it depends on the theme, and like I mentioned, that templates are available for Squarespace, and you can purchase some, but most of the templates are free for Squarespace. I have never run across a WordPress template that was really, really great and free. You will have to purchase not just the hosting and the domain, and then WordPress core is free, so don't pay for WordPress core, but the hosting, which is a plot of land, and then the domain name, but you will have to purchase a theme or template, and it can range between $50 to $100, $200. It just depends on the features you want. And sometimes the higher priced ones are a lifetime access to that support system that they might offer, as well as like Divi. It's a higher price if you're a one-off website, but it offers a lot more for that lifetime access versus a one-time like Avada, which you purchase one time, and if you want more support, you have to continually purchase the additional support. So you kind of have to gauge it that way. So Avada, Divi, and Elementor are some of the top ones. We really like Avada and Divi. The cons of WordPress are that if you do not stay at least once a week, go into your site, into the admin area, make sure that everything's running well, make sure the backups are being done, it can become a little bit of a hassle. Even quarterly, I would say quarterly, monthly, or weekly checkups on your WordPress site is essential, just because plugins can come in with an update that might end up breaking because another plugin is still not updated yet, so they might end up in a conflict, and it might break something, and it might break something that's small and you might not really notice it on the front end of the site, but it could also break something that's really important for you on your website, a contact form or anything like that, and you won't notice it until 6 months later when you're checking up on your site. So it is very important to go in there, go into the site, and update things. The last platform I'm going to cover in this video is more for e-commerce. This is Shopify. I love Shopify for e-commerce. I love it because they are focused on e-commerce. That is their jam. That is what the whole business is about. They are not going to be trying to get a service-based business or a blog. Their focus is e-commerce, and so are the add-ons. So I mentioned plugins for WordPress. These are basically like little puzzle pieces that you can include onto like customizations that you can add to your car. You can add these plugins to a WordPress site. Shopify calls them add-ons. I think Squarespace calls it extensions. They're all the same thing. They're like little extra things that you can add on to your site. So Shopify is great. I've never had an issue with their hosting or any of even their free templates that they offer, that Shopify themselves offers, not downloaded from somewhere else, that have been good enough for a lot of my clients to get started with an e-commerce site. There are paid themes or templates that you can get, and those will also range between like $50 to $200, $300. It depends again on the support, the lifetime access, all that stuff, but you can get these paid ones, and it gives you so much more that you can customize on your e-commerce site. And yeah, I don't have anything really bad to say about Shopify. I really like them as a platform. I like that they're focused on the one thing. And if you are trying to gauge whether you want an e-commerce site, if you don't have the support that you need for the upkeep of a WordPress site, but you can just go with Shopify. And Shopify, you can customize it. You can do subscriptions, you can do all these great things that you see other companies doing, and all it takes is an add-on. The only thing I will say is that all of these add-ons and plugins, they will cost you. So usually when I'm building out a website on Shopify, these come in as monthly costs. So you will pay the monthly fee for Shopify. You'll pay monthly for all the, let's say you get 5 add-ons and they're all $5 or $10 each. That's $50 added to your monthly bill, and maybe you get the plugin, and that's also going to cost you. So Shopify, usually you should think about having a range of $100 to maybe $200 or $300 per month in costs, depending on how big your e-commerce business is, versus sometimes with WordPress, it's sometimes a one-time fee, and so it's a little easier, or you can customize it a little way where you can pay a developer to do it, which will cost you, but then it's like that one-time fee unless you need to keep it updated. So just some things to keep in mind when it comes to platforms and the fees that you'll get from them. So just to remind you, most of these platforms cannot be switched. So if I build you something on Shopify and you want to transfer it to Squarespace, it's probably going to be a rebuild. It's not just going to be, hey, let's just copy and paste some of this text. No, it's like literally we have to rebuild everything onto the other platform. Most platforms are this way. I mean, they're competitors. They don't want you to easily jump between platforms. The only one that can kind of move is WordPress, which you don't actually leave WordPress. You will leave your hosting company. So you can take your WordPress site and go from GoDaddy to SiteGround to Bluehost to all of the other ones out there. And that way you can maybe gauge for the better price or better service, but it's not necessarily moving platforms because you're still on the WordPress core. And just keep in mind that anything cheap will usually cost you in the end. So I had another client where she was getting free hosting from a friend, and so that's great. That's a big saver of money. And then I think she did pay for a template, but she didn't necessarily choose one that's widely used. So that's a little of an issue. And so every update on her site, she couldn't back it up herself. She had to get her friend to back it up because she's not going to have access to his account. So I don't think there were auto backups. I don't think that and I refrain from making any updates on WordPress unless I know I have access to the backup, because if I make an update to your plugin and it breaks everything, I don't want to have to call someone and wait for them to be able to bring it back up. And so that's why we're not working with them, because it's very difficult to get someone who you don't have access to hosting. You can't make changes, you can't implement changes, and you also can't necessarily create a staging site. So we like creating staging sites to test all our code in and test any updates, and then we transfer it over to production. But when you only have a production site that's live for all of your users or visitors, and you can't have access to the backup, and it's just all of these things that you have to juggle. So make sure that you understand that things that are less expensive sometimes end up costing you a little bit more in terms of either development, in terms of add-ons, plugins, or even or even marketing, because you can't make the changes that you want on your website to support your marketing efforts. That is it. Make sure to leave any questions that I might have left unanswered in the comments. Tag me or go on Instagram and send me a message at Robles Design Studio. You can also watch my reels on Instagram, where I have a lot of fun and make a little bit of a fool of myself, but it's great. It's great fun, and try to teach you something about websites. You can also check out the freebie at Robles Design Studio at robluscience.com/checklist. It's been a long day. /checklist, where you can download a PDF and check off all the things that your website needs, whether you're building it out now, planning on building it out later, or if you built it out and you're really not sure if you have everything that you should have on your site. That's it, and I will catch you in the next episode.